It's become a tradition in the Indian smartphone industry for us to witness a POCO F series battle against an iQOO Neo series battle every single year. So we had POCO F5 going up against the iQOO Neo 7, then the POCO F6 went up against the iQOO Neo 9, and in 2025, the death match to watch out for is POCO F7 against the iQOO Neo 10. Now, while I am going to be comparing these phones across a bunch of different parameters, which includes the design, the display, the performance, the camera, the battery, the whole hog, you get it. I want to know which one do you think will come out on top. Take your guesses in the comments without going to the end of the video. Don't cheat. Alright, if you're watching me for the first time, I'm Ashad. This is Trakin Tech English, your destination for detailed, incisive smartphone reviews. You know, the first thing I noticed about the POCO F7 and that shocked me was that POCO has upgraded the design and the build quality of the phone, and how. So we now get a proper glass back, glass front, and a metal frame too. It's undoubtedly much more premium than last year's POCO F6. I really like the chamfered edges, and it's definitely way more premium feeling than the all-plastic iQOO Neo 10. But the problem with making the phone look and feel premium and adding a proper 7550 mAh battery inside means that the POCO F7 is definitely heavy. It tips the weighing scale at about 222 grams. In comparison, the iQOO Neo 10 is much lighter and much more comfortable to hold and use, including the fact that, of course, it's got plastic and it's got curved, rounded back as well. So despite the fact that it doesn't look as premium, the iQOO Neo 10, it definitely feels more comfortable to hold and use. By the way, the POCO F7 is available in 3 different colors, and the one that we've been testing out is the limited edition Cyber Silver variant, and it looks very similar to the Mi 9's transparent limited edition phone. But the problem with this, let us go all glass on everybody, design with the POCO F7 is that it is a fingerprint magnet. Although you're going to be putting it in a case, so this won't really bother you that much if you ask me. By the way, the iQOO Neo 10 is available in 2 colors, and this is the color that I like because it's a little more minimal, it's subtle, and it's understated. Now, with respect to glass protection, you do get Corning's Gorilla Glass 7 eye protection on the front and the back of the POCO F7, which is a nice thing, by the way. With the iQOO, you get shot sensation up on the front. You get a Type-C 2.0 port on both. You get a SIM card tray which accepts 2 nano SIM cards, and the one major advantage with POCO once again is the fact that you get support for IP66, IP68 and IP69 rating as well, which is just IP65 on the iQOO Neo 10. So easily, when you talk about the design and the build quality comparison of both these phones, POCO comes out on top. There's no doubt about it at all. Just like the fact that there's no doubt that our content is awesome, right? Anyway, just kidding. If you like the kind of content that we make, don't forget to give us your support and hit that subscribe button. Now, comparing the displays on both, you get the same 1.5K resolution OLED panel. But what I like about the POCO's display are the bezels. They are extremely slim. Of course, iQOO's bezels are also extremely slim, but POCO's bezels are symmetrical on all 4 sides. But iQOO's advantage, on the other hand, is the fact that you get higher refresh rate. Basically, you get 144 Hz in certain supported games, which think it's not big a deal, but what's a bigger deal for me is the fact that iQOO is actually the brighter panel, whether you're watching HDR content or if you take it outdoors. The metrics are better, the nits are higher, and especially when we tested the panels outdoors, the sunlight legibility was better on the iQOO Neo 10 compared to the POCO F7. It's not like the POCO F7 is bad, the iQOO Neo 10 is slightly better. One good thing about POCO, Redmi and Xiaomi phones is that they always ensure that you get a proper 12-bit OLED panel with Dolby Vision support, which means that you do get Dolby Vision support on Netflix and of course HDR10 playback on YouTube. With iQOO, what you get is HDR10 playback on both YouTube and Netflix. But one thing we noticed while testing out both the displays is that while the HDR content looks good on both, iQOO seems to have a slight advantage, especially with the HDR gradation, where it controls the highlights really well and brings out more details from the shadows too. The other important thing is that the color accuracy, we tried out the Pro Color mode on both, but the color accuracy on iQOO is a tad bit better compared to POCO. And when you're looking at the instantaneous touch sampling rate and the PWM dimming numbers, again, iQOO beats POCO, but it's a marginal difference because the PWM dimming is better on both the phones compared to most other phones that we've tested from, other flagship brands like Apple, Google, and Samsung. Now, since these are OLED panels, you do get in-display fingerprint scanners, but these are optical in-display fingerprint scanners, and they're placed very close to the chin of the phone, which means that actually reaching them is kind of difficult. But once you do, it unlocks very fast. They're very well tuned. The haptic feedback, on the other hand, is kind of soft. They're still X-axis linear motors, but not the best kind if you ask me. And the tuning wise, I feel like POCO is slightly softer compared to iQOO's slightly slightly more tighter, vibration feedback. Now that's the display part of the experience. Now talking about the speakers, you do get stereo speakers on both, but iQOO speakers beats POCO speakers hands down. It gets louder, it gets richer, it's got more bass. Take a listen to it for yourself and let me know what you guys think. Now, if you're an audiophile like me, then you would want to know if, high-res Bluetooth codecs are supported on these. Well, LHDC LDAC, you get support for that on both the phones. Alright, now time to talk about the performance, which I'm sure that most of you were waiting for this one specifically. And interestingly, both these phones have the same chipset, the same LPDDR5X RAM type, and the same UFS 4.1 storage. Now, one thing that we noticed with the POCO F7, and it starts off on a good note for the phone, is the fact that the read-write speeds are actually better than the iQOO Neo 10, which is good because I was actually expecting the 4.1 UFS 4.1 storage speeds to be better than that of 4.0, which never happened with iQOO phones. With POCO, it's happened finally. The other good thing is that POCO just has two variants, and it starts with the base 12/256 and goes up to 12/512 GB. With iQOO, you get two 8 GB variants, which is 8/128, 8/256, and then you have the 12/256 and the 16/512 GB variant. I would really suggest that if you want to buy, at least start off with the 8/256 GB variant. Now we started with benchmarks, of course, and in Antutu, iQOO is definitely better than POCO. And even in Geekbench, iQOO seems to have like a massive lead over POCO here. And in a CPU throttling test where we engaged 40 threads for 30 minutes, POCO actually did come out on top with better stability and a higher average JIP score too. In the 3D Mark wildlife stress test, the POCO F7 showed better stability again, but the iQOO Neo 10 offered better performance, less battery drain, and lower temperatures despite F7 stability. In fact, if you look at it closely, POCO reached 50 degrees Celsius where iQOO did not even reach 40 degrees. And even in a real-world gaming test where we played Genshin Impact for 30 minutes at a target 60 FPS, we got higher average FPS on iQOO, and it was cooler. It ran cooler compared to POCO. It's not like POCO gets hot in real world. It's just that the temperature control and the throttle performance is tuned in such a way on the iQOO Neo 10 so that you do get better, average FPS on most games that you play, and it won't throttle as much, and more importantly, it won't heat too much either. The other advantage for BGMI players, which I don't play much, but if you do, then iQOO Neo 10 offers 120 FPS gaming on BGMI, whereas you get only 90 FPS on POCO. But I'm certain that 120 FPS update should come really soon on POCO. But where the POCO F7 has an undoubted advantage over the iQOO Neo 10 is in the battery life, because it ships with a 7550 mAh silicon carbon battery, whereas iQOO Neo 10 has a 7000 mAh battery. So basically with the iQOO Neo 10, we were getting anywhere between 9 to 10 hours of screen on time, but with POCO, you can easily get 12 hours of screen on time, even on heavy usage, which can go up to 13-14 hours. The other advantage with POCO is that you can actually use that large battery to charge other phones with the reverse wired charging feature, but it does it at 22.5 watts. That technically makes the battery inside this phone a power bank. But when it comes to charging speeds, iQOO has an advantage because the 120 watt charger takes about 35 minutes to charge from 0 to 100, the smaller battery, the 7000 mAh battery. With the POCO F7, the 7550 mAh battery takes about 51-52 minutes for a full charge with the 90 watt charger. I mean, that's not too bad either, technically, if you ask me. See, network capabilities of both the phones were actually fantastic. I have nothing to complain about because we used Airtel and Jio, and you get a bunch of 5G band support, so that's not really a problem. You do also get Wi-Fi 7 support on both, and both are also NFC compatible, so if you want to make tap payments, that's absolutely fine. The one advantage on POCO is that it actually unlocks Bluetooth 6.0 support, which means that it actually taps into 8S Gen 4's capabilities, which the iQOO does not. iQOO only gives you Bluetooth 5.4 support. Now, if you ask me, the iQOO Neo 10 has fantastic performance tuning, whereas the performance tuning on the POCO F7 is good, but the battery tuning on the POCO F7 is insane. Now, since both these phones are performance-oriented phones, cameras are not really that important, but we still tested it out for you. So basically what you get is a 50MP primary camera with an 8MP ultra-wide-angle camera, and both the phones have the same Sony IMX882 sensor. And on the front, what you get is a 32MP selfie camera on the iQOO and 20MP on the POCO. Now, since both have the IMX882, you can really tell how they tune the algorithm, and that's where POCO actually does a good job of detail retention because it keeps things natural, where iQOO tends to over-sharpen it a lot. And that's the same case if you do a 2x in-sensor crop as well. However, when it comes to color reproduction from the primary camera, iQOO is just way better than this mess created by the POCO F7. In fact, I like the natural mode, the textured mode, and the vivid mode. All the three modes on the iQOO Neo 10 compared to the F7. Even the HDR tuning, I mean, I don't even have to say this. Just take a look at this photo. You can tell that iQOO is better than POCO. It does the better job of creating that HDR look that looks kind of natural, and does a good job of controlling the highlights and pulling out details from the shadows. Again, you can see that the shadow region, especially on the POCO's HDR sample, is absolutely bad. We also shot in low light, and again, Neo 10 has a better exposure. It also has better detail retention, especially take a look at the 100% crop. And if you look at it from a bird's eye view, you will also notice that POCO tends to have a lot of noise in the low light shots compared to iQOO. Now, when you're shooting friends and family, skin tones are completely off on both these phones. These are not the phones that I would trust for shooting my, friends and family, because iQOO Neo 10 tends to brighten the skin tones and POCO makes it a little too warm and sometimes yellowish. Now, for portrait mode, iQOO gives you three options. You can shoot at 1x, 1.5x, and 2x. POCO does only 1x and 2x. And I really do like iQOO's portrait shots here. It's just way better. You get better semantic segmentation, a good bokeh drop-off that looks really, really good. It's not like POCO's bad, but iQOO's better. Now, looking at the 8 megapixel ultra-wide-angle camera shots, well, it gets the job done in daylight, and in low light, it's just not usable from both the phones actually. And in selfies, if you look at it, POCO has a much wider field of view, and in general, POCO takes better looking selfies with a nice warm skin tone. I expected the 32MP selfie camera on iQOO to be better, but I kind of prefer POCO here. Even in low light, POCO seems to be better. What do you guys think? So when it comes to video recording, you can shoot 4K 60fps videos from the primary camera on both the phones, and the video quality is definitely better on the iQOO Neo 10. You get better details, better stabilization, and even better audio quality.
This is a 4K 60 video sample of the POCO F7 and the iQOO Neo 10. This is a 4K 60 video sample of the POCO F7 and the iQOO Neo 10.
The selfie camera on the POCO F7 can do 1080p 60fps videos, whereas iQOO can actually do 4K 30fps videos, which definitely gives it a huge advantage. Both can also shoot at 1080p 30fps with the ultra wide angle camera, which is alright at best. So when you look at the overall camera experience, I would easily say that the iQOO Neo 10 would be my choice here, because it's a well-rounded experience where you get like good quality pictures and good quality videos too. Now, while POCO has definitely made some advances in terms of the camera algorithm, I feel like there's still some room for improvement. This still is POCO's Achilles heel. Alright, now time to talk about the software experience on both. What you get with POCO is HyperOS 2 based on Android 15. With iQOO, you get FunTouchOS 15 based on Android 15. And both the brands are promising 3+4 years of updates. Now, if you were to ask me which one of these two software experience would you pick, I would pick neither. Technically, if you ask me, I would pick some other phone. But if like there's a gun to my head, then I would go with HyperOS over FunTouchOS. So basically you get smoother animations, and there's a lot of customizations that you can do with HyperOS 2. FunTouchOS 15 is fine, but it's nothing extraordinary. I feel like there's a huge need of a massive overhaul in the UI design, which apparently seems to be coming. So in the near future, FunTouchOS 16 will apparently imbibe a lot of OriginOS features, which I'm really looking forward to, because OriginOS experience that I had with the Vivo X200 Ultra was fantastic. But for now, if you ask me, the POCO F7's HyperOS experience is better. By the way, let me tell you that both these phones do come with a lot of unnecessary third-party apps pre-installed. You do get recommendations as well. All of these things can thankfully be uninstalled and switched off. So please don't forget to do that when you buy these phones, because then your experience will be cleaner. Now, talking about the AI features, with iQOO, you do get a bunch of AI features. What you get is AI eraser. You also get AI call translation. There's instant cutout, circle to search, and even AI image expansion. In fact, you do get support for Google Gemini as well. On POCO F7, you get features like AI notes, AI recorder, AI subtitles, AI interpreter, and of course Gemini circle to search and AI eraser feature as well. So basically you get a lot of AI features. You can try to figure out which one you like, but overall I'd pick HyperOS over FunTouchOS. Now, the DNA of the POCO F series and the iQOO Neo series is clearly great performance at shocking prices. And POCO's pricing, once again, is shocking, because the F7 is available for a effective price of 29,999, 30,000 rupees for the 12 to 56GB variant, which is the base variant, which makes it 4,000 rupees lower than the price of the iQOO Neo 10's 12 to 56GB variant. Now, POCO does offer the better build quality. It also does offer the better battery life, and performance is largely similar. Now, with iQOO, what you get is the better camera experience for that extra 4,000 that you're paying, and you also do get a slightly better multimedia experience on the iQOO Neo 10. Now, when you take all of that into consideration, the question that arises is, would you want to save some money and buy the POCO F7, or would you spend a little more for the iQOO Neo 10? I would probably save the money and buy the POCO F7. What would you do? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, keep tracking and stay safe.